Donald Trump and his administration are right now at this very moment on a collision course, legally and politically, with former National Security Advisor John Bolton. His memoir is due out next week, but not if the White House has anything to say or do about it. Remember, Bolton's silence during the impeachment trial was much criticized since he reportedly had information to provide, information that even he said should be of interest. But he kept it to himself until now, apparently. And just last hour, Donald Trump told assembled reporters that if Bolton's book comes out, he will have broken the law. Here's what Trump said.
I put him here because he couldn't get Senate confirmed. This was a non-Senate confirmed position, as you know. He stayed for a short while, and I felt that it was not appropriate that he stay any longer. I wasn't impressed. And somebody said he went out and wrote a book. If he wrote a book, I can't imagine that he can, because that's highly classified information. Even conversations with me, they're highly classified. I told that to the Attorney General before. I will consider every conversation with me as president highly classified. So that would mean that if he wrote a book, and if the book gets out, he's broken the law. And I would think that he would have criminal problems. I hope so.
Let's bring in Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell to unpack that. He is the author of a new book that you should buy, Endgame, Inside the Impeachment of Donald J. Trump. It's out tomorrow. We'll get to your book, but Congressman, so much there. Did Donald Trump just show his hand on overclassification? I mean, we know from the whistleblower that there is a server that for normal presidents holds operational intelligence, really classified stuff. But for Donald Trump, it just hides. It's where the lawyer on the NSC staff sticks embarrassing stuff Donald Trump says to foreign leaders. And it seemed that Trump there just revealed that they classify every conversation he has, whether it's justifiably classifiable or not.
Nicolle, Donald Trump thinks that classified information is what you read in the back pages of a newspaper. He has no idea what classified information is, but we do know that there has been an intent by the Trump administration to try and classify information that they think is harmful. Look, John Bolton showing up on the scene now with the book is like a firefighter showing up at a building that's already burned with a fire hose and saying, hey, guys, I got this. Like, it's too late. So I frankly don't really, care to read what's in the book, but I do want to read Fiona Hill's book or Lieutenant Colonel Vindman's book or Bill Taylor's book, or Marie Yovanovitch's book, the people who had the courage to show up and do the right thing instead of letting our democracy burn before their eyes.
And I mean, I think that is the current against which he's going to swim. And I think that, and John Bolton probably would hate to hear this, but he'll find himself without a constituency. He's burned the bridges to the Trump world. You hear right there, Trump, arms folded. He's going to get his bouncer, Bill Barr, the nation's attorney general, to get him legally. And I think you voiced the opinion of certainly a lot of our viewers that he wasted his opportunity to do the right thing, to have the back and corroborate the accounts of Fiona Hill and Marie Yovanovitch and Colonel Vindman and many, many others. So George Conway attributes it to a gross miscalculation and faith that he placed in Senate Republicans actually wanting to hear from witnesses like himself. What do you think of that theory?
Well, we asked him twice. He was asked during the House investigation, and then he threatened to take us to court. And we didn't have time to fight in the courts as the president was trying to rig the upcoming election. We felt like we had enough evidence. His could have, of course, corroborated that evidence. And then he was asked to give an affidavit by Chairman Schiff during the impeachment trial in the Senate. And both times he walked away from his duty. But just imagine, had he had the courage to come forward and the president would have been removed, we could have seen a COVID crisis that was not as bad as it is right now. We could have seen, perhaps some healing in this country as we continue to recognize Black Lives Matter and we need police reforms. Instead, John Bolton, one of the few persons that could have brought true accountability to this president, really abdicated that duty.
Tell me about the book you've written about impeachment.
Well, Nicolle, it chronicles, what we did, the call to action of standing up to this president. It's a tribute to Speaker Pelosi, Chairman Schiff, who had the courage to move forward on it, but also the heroes who did risk their livelihood and their jobs to come forward. It also really condemns the Republican colleagues of mine who put their own jobs forward instead of the job of holding the president accountable. And the people who told me so many times that they were afraid of standing up to the president because, as one said, when he tweets, he wins. But we're not helpless, as we saw in impeachment. When you stand up to a bully, he backs down. We may not have removed him from office, but Ukraine did get the aid that he was trying to hold back only once our investigation begun.
This is something I often wonder about, and I'm glad to have a chance to ask you. Do you have any regrets about impeaching the president for essentially extorting a foreign leader to investigate Joe Biden?
Zero. But in fact, knowing now that the president and his team seem to still be working with Russian operations, as it was just revealed last week in public reporting, that there may be a link between OAN and Russia and Ukrainian efforts to try and put more dirt on Joe Biden. I think we showed the public how sleazy of an operation this is. And if the president tries to throw any last-minute Hail Marys against Vice President Biden, I think his credibility has been pulverized because it was exposed during the impeachment proceedings.
The new book on impeachment by Congressman Eric Swalwell is out tomorrow. Thank you for previewing some of that with us today.
My
Always
pleasure.
great to see you. After the break, Joe Biden carrying